first of all, it is something that we should call out whatever that she said. It is absolutely out of order. And in fact, she should be taken to Hague. Anafaa apelekwe Hague asikizwe, because that was very wrong. So, and she should also understand that Ruto does not lead Tanzania. Ruto ana lead Kenya. Kenya, we are fully informed. So she should stop lying to herself that watatumia mikwaju kwetu na tukubalie. We will go to the streets, and that is now constitutionally we are protected. Now, politically, the comments actually intensified and I think reinforced fear that East African governments are actually cooperating. Look at the case of Bob Njagi being abducted. Like there is cross-border that is targeting dissent and suppression of activists. Activists are actually being abducted from their own houses. So, and it also reinforces that they have agreed to have a full surveillance on anyone who comes to speak against bad governance. As CJ Maraga called it the other day, the axis of tyranny against young dissenters. I mean, the future is ours, the future is now. So the moment they realize that the people who are calling out poor governance actually won't change, I mean, it's too late for them. You know, they literally have to let us be. And well, socially, I will approach it in a positive manner, because state heavy-handed response has actually increased political awareness among us, the young people, than silencing us completely, because people are actually making fun. They're telling her, manze, wewe fanya hivi, huyu mwenye unamwambia achukue mikwaju, tunataka hiyo mikwaju atumie kuchunga ng'ombe nyumbani akienda Sugoi, because we're going to send that person home. One of us said achukue hiyo mikwaju aende apige nayo ng'ombe na mbuzi huko Sugoi, because I mean it's time that we speak up as young people, and we are more conscious politically, and we also realized that they should also realize that we've moved away from traditional political parties way of organizing. I mean, we are digitally organizing. Digital activism has become powerful, and public accountability conversation has really widened, and people are more informed. So such vitisho kidogo kidogo hizo for us tunaita vitisho baridi baridi, we don't succumb to vitisho baridi and vitisho ndogo ndogo. Yeah. So I think I will leave it at that. Let's give another speaker, then we can move on.
Whenever we feel maybe government or the state want to harm us, if you look at it, who is firing those shots? You know, who is shooting, actually, to murder the people that have been murdered in cold blood? Who has the guns and shooting? The police are being misused. And the National Police Service is actually supposed to be, it's not supposed to be controlled by head of states or any other person. It is the Inspector General who should be actually telling the police that their mandate is to protect their citizens. Why I am very much concerned about the police is because they're the ones who are being used to do the dirty work. They have been, undignified. If you look at most of these police, they are not, they are not working under decent conditions. They have been traumatized even themselves to the extent that they can be used to do any kind of work. They do not think really clearly, and I think they do not really hate the citizens. I don't want to say that they hate the citizens, but they are also victims. I'm not disregarding that they have really caused so much pain to the citizens, but it's because they're being misused. The inspector, the heads of the police, I don't know the kind of conversations that they have, but it is not a good conversation because they are playing out in how the police are carrying out their functions. So if we can really have conversations with police, if we see each other as not enemies, but as citizens, all of us who want to see our country going forward, if we can have conversations at our own levels with them, we have them on our side, doing their job, which is just to protect us, because we are all good people. We do not see people going to fighting any other day. When people are going to protest, I don't know, we see each other as enemies because we have been made to see each other as enemies. The police have been made to look at citizens as people who are coming, who are coming armed. So the reason I'm focusing so much on the police is that they're the one who have been used to continue the brutalities. So we should really look at having the conversations with them. We must petition that they, instead of firing shots here and there, they should actually yes, I am back. Yeah, I don't know. I think there was some issue with my network. So my focus is very much on the police force because they're the ones that are used to continue all these brutalities, all this unfair crackdown on citizens. Samia Suluhu may say we should be beaten. The president of our country said that we should be we should be shot on the leg. But have you ever seen him on the street actually doing that? So in every dictatorship, in every kind of oppressive systems, you will see that the police are always used to cause harm on the citizens. So they kind of make citizens and the police to see each other as enemies so that they can have that enabling environment where citizens and the police will never live in harmony. So to finish up, what I'm trying to say is that let's start having conversations with the police. Let's have the police doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is not to see citizens as enemies, but as people who are just living their life, who are just demanding decency. Because even for the police, if you look at the kind of life that they are living one of very unfair, undignified life. So if we can make them see that we are fighting for all of us. We are fighting for a country where everybody exercises their right, where our decencies, our dignity are uplifted, our will is promoted. Then we do not have to be fighting, and we don't even have to be going on the streets all the time, because what we are fighting for are things that we should not be fighting for. We're just demanding to be respected, just to be seen as citizens, as human beings. of East Africa and of the world. Thank you.
Eli, just a moment. I would like to say something. When we are doing this, please kindly remember that we are also addressing the people who are from a Swahili speaking country. So in case we need the message to reach to her, tafadhali tuchanganye pia Kiswahili kidogo ndio waelewe.
Oh, tutachanganya.
Oh, okay. I wanted to contribute on police brutality. Sasa kwa hiyo police brutality in Kenya, what we are facing is a crisis that is not only affecting the police department. You see, in Kenya, we have three arms of government which are supposed to be working independently. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, and of course we have the parliament. But over the years, the constitution has not been followed, and you find that these arms are now being controlled by one individual, whereby you find that the president is the one who is deciding who is going uh, to be the speaker of the National Assembly, is the one who is also appointing some judges, which is constitutionally right for the president to appoint the judges, but through some vetting. So you'll find that if these three bodies or these three institutions work independently, kama zote zitafanya kazi kwa venye zinafaa kufanya kazi, then we will have a very sober nation. But when one individual is controlling all these institutions, then the police, hata polisi hao wenyewe hawataweza kufanya hiyo kazi yao jinsi inavyofaa, kwa sababu unapata wanapewa orders to go and do something. They are giving orders to go and shoot and kill, to go and commit all that brutality. But if let's say the judiciary holds them accountable, we have the IPOA, which is to check if the police are using force beyond measures, but even the IPOA is being controlled. So if these institutions will work independently, then they will give the police the power to work in the correct and the right way. So our challenges basically ina police na hii police inafaa kwanza hizi institutions tatu, hii judiciary, executive na parliament, zi work independent, kwa sababu pia kama parliament ingekuwa ina work independently, sasa hivi venye tunaongea, huyu president mwenye yako sahi angekuwa tayari ashakuwa impeached, kwa sababu ameua vijana, na ni kitu ambayo imeonekana in 2024 Gen Z demonstrations, na imeonekana pakubwa sana, ni kubwa. It holds more water other than the impeachment of I don't love Gachagua, but other than the impeachment of Gachagua on tribal basis is killing more is killing more valid than the tribal claims that was posted to Gachagua and was impeached. So kama parliament ingekuwa inafanya kazi vizuri, hawachukui hongo, hawakui bribed, then we will have a very good country, kwa sababu pia tu president angekuwa tayari ashakuwa impeached. Parliament passes all the policies within the country. Hakuna policy inapita. Kwa hivyo hata kabla tuanze kusema president, inafaa tuulize ama MP wanafanya nini, kwa sababu hakuna policy hii nchi ambayo inapitishwa kama ijapitia parliament, na hao ndio wanapitisha hizi policies zote, kwa sababu Ruto on his own ana hiyo uwezo ya kupitisha any policy within the country. Ana hata hiyo uwezo ya kuamri, kama venye alipana amri jeshi wakakuja kwa maandamano illegally. Ana hiyo amri, lazima ipitie pale parliament. And these people are also failing us. That's why we also need more young people wajitokezee kwa wingi. They go for these seats of parliament na wahakikishe kwamba hapo mbele we have a very sane parliament, kwa sababu shida yetu ianzie hapo. Hata siko parliament peke yake, it goes further to the judiciary. They are supposed to hold these people accountable, but they are not doing their work. That is why we will find a police anakuambia nitakuua na hakuna kitu utafanya, ama hakuna pale ambapo utanipeleka. So I would like to appreciate so much and say this, vijana tusitishwe na mtu yoyote ama tusitishwe na kitu yoyote. Hakuna hizo vitisho ndogo ndogo na baridi zenye wanajaribu kutuwekea sisi, hatutashtuka na hatutaogopa. Tusimame kidete, bado mapambano, kwa sababu if we don't fight for what is right, then the generations to come, these people are going to get old and retire, but we will still have the society to protect. So I'm calling upon the young people to come in, wakuje strong na waongee, they air out their voices, they stand for what is right and campaign for what is right and ensure that we have a nation. Because if we keep quiet, a few individuals who want to I don't know if they want to own the entire universe, will still loot, ensure that all these systems are not working, so that they can benefit they can enlarge their stomachs. So tusitishwe, tusituke, na mtu akifanya mbaya, don't be intimidated ati nikiongea Subaru itasimama, kwani wameshika wangapi? They cannot kill all of us. So tutajitokezea na hizo viticho zao ndogo ndogo za Samia Suluhu, hiyo ajaribu na Watanzania hapa Kenya, hiyo haiwezi. So I would like to really appreciate for hosting this space whereby we can express our views. Believing I have a few appointments to conclude, but asante sana. Have a great night ahead, but I'll be listening. Asante sana.
Keep going, keep going. Keep going. I was showing someone how to do it, but keep going, and then you'll give me a chance to submit.
Thanks so much, everyone, and thanks, Ellie, for another chance. Well, about police brutality, you know, we all know who is behind police brutality, and I'll still state it. Police brutality is rarely caused by one single person or a group. In both Kenya and Tanzania or in other incompetent uh, government, it's usually the result of a chain of authority and system failures, including we have the political leadership environment, such as the government set the tone for how protests are handled. We all know that, right? When political speeches emphasize crushing and unrest or maybe tough action, it can influence policing style. Well, in East Africa, public order is often treated as a security issue rather than a right issue. You know, we have also police officers who operate under orders from senior command. And the common denominator is these people never actually tend to listen to a common mwananchi because they're like programmed robots. Uh, Actually, well, I've been on the street several times, actually trying to protest, maybe trying to cry for the rights, trying to call upon, maybe to call out on the government to respect the human rights. But you know, at some point, I've been afraid because I don't know what this police that is in front of me, whether they are there to protect me, to beat me up, or to do something unthinkable to me, like maybe shooting that lead um, uh, uh, out of that gun, because we are now working. We are no longer working with just police, but programmed robots, programmed vertical people who are there set to do something because they just want a salary into their pocket at the end of the day. You know, we have very weak accountability system. Independent oversight bodies exist, but are often under-resourced or slow. In Kenya, oversight include internal police discipline and external bodies like IPOA, but implementation gaps still remain. We have the training and culture. Crowd control training in many regions still relies heavily on force fast approaches rather than the escalation. This is what I mean. Go in those police camps. You'll hear these young individuals being. Actually, I was shocked. I've been a friend to so many people who have went through police training, na hawa watu wamekuwa wakiniambia tukiwa huko kwa polisi tunaambiwa you're being trained, you're being dehumanized. I mean, you're being trained to live like an animal, not to fear anything, to an extent of even insulting your own parents in the name of killing fear, in the name of being transformed into a very hard, or maybe rather, let me say, an animal, or an someone who don't bother, someone ni kama unanyang'anywa roho juu sasa ukienda kwa street, hata ukiambiwa na mwananchi wa kawaida that unajua mimi ni brother yako, mimi ni sister yako, mimi nyinyi pia ni wazazi wetu, you won't listen to that because it all starts by the training. So what I'll just say tonight is I'm calling upon these organs that train the police at least to teach them morals, to teach them that these people that you're going to govern or maybe to maintain order to, these are your brothers, these are your sisters, some of them are your colleagues, and these are not enemies, these are not people to cause mayhem, these are not people to cause destruction, but these are people that deserve these are people that are speaking on behalf of you. This is what I mean. Police also deserve civic education. Let's not sideline them since they do not vote. See it sasa tuambie eti you know it's like let me say a war between the citizens and the police. I want it to turn into something like brotherhood. We enlighten each other, tunaambiana bro, tunafaitia rules, rights zenu pia, not just us. When you're fighting on the streets, it's never all about Vincent, it's never all about Ellie, it's never all about an individual, but a nation at large. So what I'm calling upon, please, civic education to be included in those police training camps. They should also attend conferences, and they should not be rushed to go and maintain order that a lawyer has taken 6 years in class sitting down to listen to that PhD lecturer to just come and meet someone on the street who is trained in just maybe less than 90 days or so to maintain it. So my main point is civic education is very key and vital in these camps. Thank you.
Uh, uh, you can copy me, right? Um, so for me, Eli, I think there's something that we are ignoring, and my biggest question is how deep has police brutality roots penetrated the Republic of Kenya? And historically, it dates back to colonial era when policing systems were designed more to control population than to serve the community. And we have seen it even after independence. I mean, we have seen it during the eras of Jomo Kenyatta, agencies were literally being, or security agencies were accused of suppressing dissent, torture, and politically motivated violence. That is why we hear of Nyayo House, we hear that people were being thrown in that place. It's a cold place. I mean, police service a culture. I mean, excessive force, impunity. There's also the corruption aspect of it. I mean, kama hauna license ya gari, polisi anataka upatie 50 shillings. And because we Kenyans are used to having to getting to leaning more on the shortcut side of life, we end up giving them 100 and endangering the lives of others on the road. So that's, I mean, the institution culture has also majorly contributed to that, which has been there from way back. There is also one like IPOA. It's a it's literally, if I can call it, a toothless dog, because we have seen Albert Ojwang was killed. His case is like imeenda hivyo, like we cannot lie to each other that that case inaendelea, like bado inasuppressio huko behind the scene. So the day that I will see IPOA holding a police officer to account, the day that I will see a police officer has been locked in cells because of shooting someone in the leg. I mean, if the CIC can say shoot them in the leg, kesi baadaye, then it means those police hakuna kitu mtawafanyia, watafanya vile wanajisikia. And we have seen the same happening during election periods. We have seen it during anti-government protest elections period. I will give an example of 2007 and 2008 post-election violence. Give me one or two policemen that is behind behind jail, like that has been locked in because of post-election violence in 2007 and 2008. So that is something that we will have to research because hakuna. And then there's also the protest that was linked to electoral dispute during in 2017, the time for, I think it was time for Kumira Kumira. Some people lost life. And then kuna ingine sasa ya COVID-19. COVID-19 hatungepita hata unapatana na polisi na kupiga kofi and there's nothing that can be done. We have clips circulating. We have clips of police wameenda vijana wanacheza pool wanawalalisha chini. None of those police has been brought to book. None of them. So what exactly is the work of IPOA? We go to the street to demand accountability. IPOA investigations moves slowly. Prosecutions are rare. Witnesses are scared of being intimidated by the police unit. I mean, so for us, and conviction has remained limited compared to the number of complaints. I mean, so it begs the question: do we trust our independent bodies to actually bring these people to book? Do we trust them? And for me, the answer is no, because kama mkubwa wa polisi anaweza kuwa suspect na aende nyumbani ameenda because of allegedly stepping aside so that investigations are done, and then later on we see documents out there that has being released out that it was actually a leave in disguise of stepping aside for investigation to be done. I mean, we are not going to move. I mean, we are not going to move as a country unless these independent bodies start working. That is my disappointment with the independent bodies, honestly. And I wanted to bring to book that the police brutality dates way back. Its roots way back. It's deeply rooted in our system. And it is upon you, Eli, it is upon me, Olive, it's upon you, Obed, to call it out. And anytime unaona polisi anachukua hata hongo, basi record that thing. So we bring them, we make them accountable for whatever actions that they are doing. Yeah, that's my take.
Good, Eli. Thank you. And thanks for your patience. It's been a long journey. There was rain in Nairobi and a lot of traffic, but we've managed. So, been trying to follow the conversation, but we all beat with interruptions. Your friends on internet don't like us at times. However, I listened to, and I have a few questions to ask in relation to where do we think is the origin of the police or brutality generally, and especially against dissent. And why is it that it is felt that when people dissent, they are literally opposing the state, don't want the state to work? And if that be the case, and listening to what uh, the president of Tanzania said, and our president not saying much, and I hear young people, actually, because particularly the target is the Gen Zs, and we lost quite a number of them in the recent, protests in Kenya and elections in Tanzania. But then the question is, are we probably crafting a different way other than the online activism and, probably looking at going to the streets in such a way that we find a better way in terms of policy and approach and alternative to what is being done as a way to guarantee that the young people can change the dynamic of the country. It's easy to point out and complain, and I know that's the easiest bit in life. But how do we ensure that this can be a repetition? What alternative policy are we looking at? For example, Kenya operates under a very archaic law. Rely, you bear me witness that the Public Order Act is quite old, and that's where the police rely on when it comes to disrupting public functions or protests when people go for protests. So, are we looking at policy reforms? Are we looking at ensuring that there's emphasis on what is supposed to be using the current statutes and responsibilities so that other than us saying what we say, telling the police we are not scared, it is important, yes. But what if they choose not to follow the law, which they have done consistently? What are we supposed to do? And I'm not saying this because I don't think there's a solution, but I also feel we are contributors to part of the problem, and we probably need to look at ourselves as well, introspect, look at how we organize. What level of respect do we accord? And I don't speak this way because I'm speaking for anyone, but I'm just throwing a question to the room so that we ask around ourselves, how do we change the trajectory in policy and also guaranteeing that more young people have an understanding and wherewithal of statecraft in such a way that if there's an opportunity to take responsibility, they can comfortably do that. And even when we do, what is our understanding of what is?
Okay. Oh, I was actually speaking to myself. Nilifikiria unmute mic. I hope you can hear me. So there's a question Obet has asked, and I can rephrase it in a manner like a different approach. How can we approach the whole issue differently? And nitajaribu kuzungumza kwa Kiswahili na Kiingereza because of our neighbors. So for me, I think the earlier the government recognizes that dissent na watu kwenda maandamano haimaanishi tunawa threaten, hatu threaten the state. It is our constitutional democracy. It is our constitutional democratic right. And I think there are a number of healthier approaches. And at some point, I think the president tried to navigate through that by coming to X space and talking to us. So I think the number one way of approaching the issue differently to avoid police brutality, and this is entirely on the government side, it is for them to put a structured youth government dialogue. We need there's a need for a dialogue, and it should be actually youth led. Ni sisi tunawaita mkuje mtusikize. That one can be done in public town halls. It can be done as a yes. So Eli, please come up again. I had lost you. I left you at Linda Mwananchi. Uh-huh. Young women, yes. Mm-hmm. Youth, it is. I was trying to rephrase Obed's question. He was like, "How can we do things differently?" And in the aspect of Linda Mwananchi, we have so many youth. We even have the young patriots. We have it is like, for instance, our young women group is from 18 to 40 years. We accommodate from 18 to 40 years. So whoever comes in, as long as you're within that age bracket, you're fully welcome. And we have the women's league, which is 18 to over 40. And for the young patriots, it's 18 to 35. I mean, Linda Mwananchi has literally accommodated the young people. So whoever feels like they want to come into the Linda Mwananchi group of young people, they're fully welcome. And it is something that we are also navigating on how to be present at the table. Like we were told, kama muyuko kwa hiyo meza, if you're not bargaining in the bargaining table, vunjeni hiyo table. Ama geuzeni the other way na mui break. So that is what we are trying to do as the young women of Linda Mwananchi Brigade and the young patriots. And so for me, Obed was saying we have a structured youth dialogue. We also have to, at least the parliament can call a few youth. I mean, you have seen the youth, the young youth out there when you're vocal and all that. Call them for a session, yeah, hearing session with them, and direct policy engagement before frustration explodes. What do I mean by that? We went to the streets in 2024 to say no to finance bill, the finance bill that led to the 2024 protest. But no one had us from 19th. We went again on Thursday. We were like, hatutaki hiyo. What did they tell us? Walienda wakatoa sijui bread, wakatoa the basic nini, wanasema hiyo tumetoa, because common mwananchi ni mtu ambayo you measure the common mwananchi from the basics. I mean, ukinitolea ugali hiyo tax ukitoa, I am okay, nitakuwa sawa. Yani in short tunatuambia sisi tumbo yetu ndio inatulead, and it is the other way around. So before frustration explodes, can the government develop a listening ear? Can they at least listen to the young people? Can they at least listen to the citizens of the Republic of Kenya? If that happens, it will actually reduce the brutality. So I don't know if you understood my point to what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and yeah. So and then I think mhm, yes, yes,
Yes. 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 Well, actually, first of all, we are not getting things wrong. Government is feeling threatened by our resistance. We are fighting injustices. We are fighting the police brutalities that have been launched on people by government. So now government trying to stop us now, to stop us from fighting them. They're terming us, they're labeling us as people who are misbehaving. We're actually not misbehaving, we are resisting. And they are threatened for sure. And I like that Olive talked about having conversations. We need to have these conversations. And young people across the country have initiated different kind of movements. There are actually very many movements that have been started by young people to talk about different aspects of leadership. Like even the Ukokadi was started by young people. And even now this conversation with the police. Now that they have given us a trigger to have these conversations. A few minutes ago, you mentioned that in DRC, there's some unconstitutional things happening, and we've realized that police are involved again. So now that takes you to question, why is it that police, people who are old enough, why do they allow themselves to be used in a manner that is not only immoral, but harmful to themselves and to citizens? So we must ask things like the whole recruitment process of police. I think it is designed to use the police as as something to fight the citizens, to prevent citizens from ever resisting any kind of oppression. Polisi ama viungo vyovyote vya usalama vinatumika na serikali kuumiza mwananchi ambaye anapigania haki. Kwa hivyo kama wananchi wa Kenya, kama wananchi wa East Africa, kama wananchi wa Afrika, lazima tujiulize ni nini ambacho kinatendeka. Polisi wakiandikwa kazi. If you look at the qualifications of police, it goes for one of the lowest grade. So you must question why. Because unaweza pata someone maybe even got the highest marks but want to serve their country in the police force. But that's not the qualifications. So wanaendea ile iko chini kabisa, maybe in a way, so that mtu akipewa kazi ya polisi huenda anajiona kama maybe they have done them a favor. So we really have to put question marks around the recruitment of police force. Ama labda kuna kitu wanadungwa. I really do not know, because if you meet a police, they are always very angry. They are always, whenever people go on the streets to protest, they always come feeling like they are about, to be attacked by people who are fully armed. And citizens are never armed. They are very unarmed. They are harmless. They only want to come and fight for what is rightfully theirs. So mimi nasema we have mazungumzo na polisi and even other security organs, because kama mnakumbuka the documentary called Blood Parliament, there was a soldier that was identified as one of the people that actually murdered one of the comrades on parliament, was from defense forces. So ukiangalia sio polisi pekee, national police pekee yao inatumika kuendeleza na kuendeleza madhara ama kudhuru mwananchi wa kawaida, so security organs wanatumika. Kwa hivyo it's very important tukuwe na mazungumzo na policy sisi na policy, and those who have already been involved in murdering and killing of civilians, they should be brought to account. IPOA is just being negligent because those bullets that were fired, it is said that a bullet is unique to every gun. So unaweza, you can take one gun, a bullet, and link it from which gun it was fired. So they are being very negligent. So we must demand that those that have already committed murder in cold blood of these young people who are only fighting for their rights, they should be charged. They should be charged in court and be convicted so that they can serve as an example to the rest. Because if now police can do anything they want and they go unpunished, it encourages the rest to continue doing all that. So ile kitu ambayo mimi najaribu kusema ni kwamba bila nguvu ya police na any defense organs, marais wa nchi wa East Africa ama Africa or even across the world, without the police force and all that, game over for them. Really have conversations around how we can coexist with police. They do their job, which is to protect us as civilians while we go about our business and our property. Yeah, that is what we should be doing. Hapo ndo na kumalizia.
Not when you've decided to speak in Swahili. You are punishing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah, I, think- I know Kisia might even be easier for me. Yeah, but I'm liking the discussion. The topic is timely, and of course the points that are being raised are very fundamental. My opening statement would be that what was stated by President Samia about cracking the whip on the Gen Z or, the young people, I think should be a concern for all of us and every believer in constitutional democracy, whether you are in Kenya, you are in Tanzania, or anywhere else in the globe. And of course, what she stated was inaccurate, that when she was talking about that this is not how we do things. We have a historical context to dispute that. That even the governments that we have, they have always dismissed young dissenters as noisy, unruly, and dangerous. And then, of course, later they realized that these young dissenters were actually sending a deeper warning to the society about the issues that are affecting the society. Uh, Eli, Albertson, and the Mizani, and everybody else, you would agree with me. We are talking about the post-independence history. We are talking about the many liberation. The post. It's not a new emergency where the young people are organizing and dissenting when it comes to issues that are affecting the society. The struggle against colonialism were largely organized around whether it's students, young intellectuals, trade unions, and just even the common person, the common mwananchi. They will come back and were mainly the young people. We just have to call them out to realize that you are inviting us to forget a history that we have lived with. We are inviting us to forget something that we know, that the young people have been in the forefront for these struggles, being the streets. They have been brutalized. Some of you have even been treated to pictures of the many struggles that we have continued to see. The reason as to why I wanted to make it clear that they ignore this only later to realize that had we actually paid attention to what these young people are agitating for, this problem would have been solved earlier. But then we are prolonging it by thinking that we are trying to suppress them by becoming brutal and doing what we're doing. But I think there's something that Olive mentioned that I thought was profound, that when you try to probably suppress these people, whether it's through police brutality, I think Mark was talking about that, whether it's trying to suppress them online, sometimes, withdraw their digital connectivity and everything, you are not killing the movement. You are actually radicalizing these people even more than you think. So if you have paid attention to this, is that the young people will continue to reinvent themselves with new strategies on how they are going to deal with this. So the point I'm trying to make, even before we address the issue of police brutality and the kind of how the government responds, do they understand that these young people are actually talking about a deeper problem that needs to be faced by the states, by I'm talking about the Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, Congo, all those that we have in the East Africa, and of course Africa and beyond. When they are dissenting, they are not dissenting just because of you who is in power. It's because they don't have jobs. It's because there is some level of dictatorship, the things that are going on that they do not agree with. They are not complacent. They don't want to sit back and say that, oh, I have few years to live and die, just like maybe my aging mother. They know that there's a whole life ahead of them. They are confronting their fears of their own lives. These people are real human beings, have graduated, don't have jobs, cannot even start a family. Why? Because there are no opportunities. So then, what should the government do before they make such kind of statement? Is to ask themselves, are these people dissenting for the sake of it? I don't think so. History doesn't tell us that that is the case. It tells us there is something deeper. The person who is ignoring this is our regimes, our governments. They're ignoring, they are actually emboldening the young people. They are trying to make this to be a bomb that will explode. And unfortunately, at the time that they would not have any control over it. And therefore, issuing statements which are a violation of human rights, a violation of the democracy we have, and talking about cracking the whip. I think to me, the word mukwaju was a very interesting one. This is best understood by the Swahili speakers like Eli. And I thought it at our kija kwenu It's like you beat them up and then they come to this side, don't worry about it. And then nobody talks about the rule of law. If somebody is violating the law, then arrest them, let them face charges and all that. I mean, that's the common protocol of this. But when a president stands and confirms, she was not just seeing it there, they had already had a discussion about it. Now, if you listen to the context of that statement, say that, oh, they'd already talked about it, and this is seemingly what they arrived at. Even if it looks like Samia is trying to advise Ruto there, if you read the context of that clip, it shows that they had a conversation. I find it very unfortunate. What I'd urge our government is, please do not ignore these voices. They are not just complaining about human rights violations. Human rights violations are coming because when you come to confront them with brutality, after ignoring the deeper problem, what is this deeper problem that governments are not hearing? Finally, I think one of our good sisters here mentioned that there's an emergency of many movements across the country. Eli, one of the ways to know that you're a bad leader is when you are going for re-election and you have 1,000 people who think they are better than you. Like there's so many coming up and saying, you know what, I think there's nothing that can be worse than this. That tells you are doing very bad. Just watch that. Look at the numbers who are ready to oppose you, including people you think that seriously, even this one things can be better. Then you really have to go back and do introspection. When you're seeing so many groups emerging and coming up with ideas and things like that, it should speak to something that what you are offering is not resonating with people. So I would say that please, Museveni, Ruto, Samia, do not ignore these young people. There is something, you have to hear what they're not saying. There's something deeper than what you are hearing. So you enumerating things, you are ignoring, there's a deeper voice that has to be paid attention to. I appreciate the discussion, timely, and over to you, Eli, and thanks for the opportunity.
For now. Bundi's up here, so allow him to speak, yes.
Okay, thank you, Eli. I just want to wish Obed a quick convalescence from a disease that he has never suffered. That is how the system in this country are working. But I hope that we're going to find a system that is it's working, not like the ones that we're having. But I think, Eli, this is a very important conversation. Actually, I've been following through and hearing what people are saying, because we need to keep these discussions constant. Let people express themselves. But again, this issue of state-sanctioned brutality. There's somebody who said that it is only the state which has the monopoly of using violence. So anytime that you see an aspect of violence, number one, you must understand that the state might have basically a direct hand in it. You've seen the kind of, goonish and, goonish, things that have been happening in the country. A senator is beaten, people just say it's okay. we've seen people being attacked in political rallies. These things, are happening each and every day. But now when you hear some ends of state sitting together and speaking how they can manage, these young people for expressing themselves, that should concern each and every person. Because look, Samia Suluhu Hassan's election, until today, it has never been cleared because we understand the circumstances and the situations that she became a president. People are killed. Actually, I was reading the report which was commissioned, I think it was last week, around 500 to 600 people. And actually, even human rights, they were saying, people exceeded around 800 people were killed during, that October 29th election. And, she was that as a rock saying that everything is okay, you must follow a constitution. And again, you must understand the kind of Tanzania operates on a very, I think, it's one of the most exclusive states that you have around because the president, is the alpha and omega, is running everything. Police are reporting to him, and this is something which is very deeper. When you come to Kenya, at least the people in Kenya, the young people are very conscious. I mean, they are political conscious. They are asking questions when they see something is going wrong. But what is happening in Tanzania is a completely different story. Earlier last year, we had that human rights activist, is it Maria Sarungi, was arrested in Nairobi and was taken to Tanzania. We had what happened, to Akina Boniface Mwangi. So this is something which is actually being ran by the state itself. The state cannot separate itself from this violence. And that is why, Obed, the other day I was hearing somebody saying that it's states that kill people. It's states that give directions to people to kill people. Because basically police officers, they are training. It's basically to manage, to manage people to law and order. Those are things that we are studying back in school. But what we've seen this evolution whereby police have been reduced to private militia, both in Kenya and other countries. When you go to Uganda, the same thing is playing out. So there is something particularly wrong in East Africa, and I think we are in an axis of the evil to some extent. So, Obed, I think that we need to have a deeper conversation, especially on, number one, the training of police officers. Because once you're trained, number one, your weapon is, you've been given a gun. A gun is not a decoration. They say, that gun has rounds of bullets. You are going to use it each. And remember, they're just using it even when they have not been provoked. They're just shooting people. In 2007, actually, majority of people who died, it was out of police, out of those are bullets which were shot by police officers. In 2017, we saw a very young child, baby Pendo, was killed by police officers. Last year, we saw a 12-year-old girl who was sitting at their home, just watching television, being shot by police officers. They call it a stray bullet. So you understand that there is a very deeper issue that is afflicting the police officers. I mean the police officer system, the National Police Service. And it is not only the National Police Service, even the National Intelligence Services, because these are things that coordinate. Anything that happens is a coordination between National Police Service, National Intelligence Service. Or today they will, come and abduct somebody. You don't know how they tapped their data, they intercepted them, they know that where that person is. So this is something which is very deeper than we are analyzing it. And another issue is this: what is these genuine things that these people are advocating for? Because once as a citizen of Kenya, I'm protected by Article 37, that is number one, to come out and protest and make my voice to be heard publicly. But again, Article 24 of the Constitution gives some limitations, and once you not pass those limitations, it means that you're within the context of law to do whatever you want to do. But police officers, they use that archaic law that I think it's Obed who quoted it, the Public Order Act. It's very archaic and it's very, very primitive. And again, they have today modified law such that I can be arrested today and I'm charged of terrorism. These are the kind of things that we are seeing police officers are using to charge people. So I think in view of what is happening, we should be very, very very conscious of these circumstances, because our elections is nearing. It's just a near time, and we've seen these instances where police officers are killing people, just like that. Earlier this year, 21-year-old KMTC lady was shot by police officers. Until today, there is no person who has been held accountable. The issue of Rex Masai, until today, we've seen numberless injunctions taking place in courts. So you find that there is even that association, because justice this country is something else which, it's quite denied. A police officer is reported for killing a person, but the process is very lengthy, until you get tired. And, they say that justice delayed is justice denied. So I think as I learned that, Eli, we need a very deeper conversation concerning this issue. It's not fixing the police itself. It's about fixing the system that maintains these police officers. If you're going to remove an IG, we are going to replace that IG with another IG. We are going to have, these numberless this kind of replacing people. But once you don't fix the problem, which is at the substratum of the whole issue, if you are not going to remove that mentality from police officers, who I think see public as their enemies, because police officers are there to protect the public, they shouldn't be enemies of the public. So I believe that in as much as we want to change this police infrastructure, let us address the problem which is at the deep of it. If we are going to cut, if you're going to cut this tree from its roots, at least we're going to have solution. But I believe that even the state itself, it has the incentive and initiative for maintaining this police brutality, because that is the only way in which they can manage people. We saw what happened in 2024, 2025, we saw the same thing coming out. And even I think next, in June, there will be such things happening. So it's not about fixing, these police officers again. It's about dealing with the deeper problem, which is the state which anchors all these things. Because if the state today becomes responsible, if a police officer kills a person and that police officer is held responsible, again, people will, at least there will be that buffer. But once these things have been normalized and, police officers kill and then we are told that we are going to be paid, I think that is the wrong thing that we are setting as a nation. And it shouldn't be like that. So I want to say that let us continue amplifying the message. Let us not, be to Sitishwe. I see that is, the government is using force to tell people not to do. Let us, be vigilant. Let us continue calling out these people. And I know that at the end of the day, the people shall. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you, Bundi. And you talk about the police and what they are. But I'd like to ask this question, and this is a question to the room. When was the police established in Kenya? Eli, do you remember? And when was it established in terms of which location and why? And do you think that the police force has fundamentally changed since the time it was established? Probably in the address code and some of the constitutional facets that we've put. I think the history of brutality goes way back into colonial period. And even when Kenya gained independence, a lot has probably not changed with the police, except for how we've called them. We've called them from a police force. Now it's a police force, and then we have a union of National Police Service, which has the APS and NPS. But the system at the heart of it is still colonial in its approach. And so maybe we have a progressive constitution that's supposed to have people think and do things differently, but the people who are supposed to follow that constitution don't necessarily, and in their training, don't have that understanding, either intentionally or because the system allows them to be able to do what they do, then they ignore what is the requirement of the law. So when presidents in the region speak the way they have tried to speak, and it's quite obvious that change mostly would come from young people, but it would come from young people when the agenda is very specific and very clear. And I saw somebody yesterday actually getting beaten for it, and I'm going to raise it again. So the agenda quite clearly is Ruto must go, which I agree. But then once we send him away, and again I keep asking, what's our understanding of statecraft? What is our experience? Are we going to do this? And when I say we, I'm referring to Gen Zs. I am not one. Are we going to believe that we can only do this by ourselves? Or there are other people who, despite their difference in terms of age, have the best interest and have the understanding of what the young people are looking for to be able to hold their hands to achieve this goal? I'm not asking this any question to anybody, but anyone willing to answer that, I'll be happy. Weston, I'd like to hear what's your take on this conversation. I'd really appreciate to hear what you say. The reason I asked that, sorry, Eli, is because if we understand the history of the police, we probably would understand the cause and the problem of brutality that we're talking about today.
Hi, Eli. Actually, I want Hadassah. Hadassah was requesting to use my mic to make her submission because unfortunately she cannot be admitted here for some reason. I don't know, maybe her network. Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Eli, for this platform. My name is Hadassah Bahati, or Miss Namunyek. I'm a financial advisor and human rights defender. First of all, I would like to make a contribution on the statement that we got from Samia. I would rather put it as a very careless statement from our leaders. As we know, is that Kenya is the genesis of safe freedom, all the way which dates back from pre-colonial eras, where it jumps up about how we fought for independence and how other African countries joined in, and that's how we, got here. But in hindsight, what I would like to say is that if we analyze on the matters of police brutality, this has been a historical issue that should actually be looked into. In most cases, we have seen that I don't want, just to reiterate what our other people have said, our leaders have said, is that we need the end of police brutality now. The future is now and it is not tomorrow. We have seen an outstanding cases and numbers of citizens disappear, which dates back way from 2019, where we would see cases like 2, 3 members of a community disappearing in police custody. And also sometimes we find them, having have been killed. I mean, and also just like last week, we saw the in Nigeria, just talking about African continent in general. Nigeria, last week we were having the hashtags, the NSARS, and we saw a very young Nigerian native having been killed in police brutality, in police, custody. So these are the things that we are airing as the Gen Zs, that it should end now and not tomorrow, today. And just for the records, in one term, he must go and he has to go. Thank you very much. Mhm. Right. Thank you very much, Eli, for your question. And my input on this will be, first of all, how are our police officers, how our forces, trained? Is there any humane? Are they humane? Are they human enough? First of all, it goes all the way, or goes all the way to how their trainings are conducted, and also we do not want to mention names. Also, the people who are in power. how are they giving these instructions? Because most of the times police act on order, right? Order from the above. And most of them get these orders from above, which they cannot, sometimes we feel like they are coerced so that they also come and, do what they are doing. So I think it starts by calling out the leaders, especially those the police bosses, right? And seeing how that will be coordinated with the common mwananchi, right? Because at the end of the day, mwananchi will always be more than the police. So is more than 50 million Kenyans, right? If we decide to act, but we are not weaponized. So I think this will be on a coordination of police. How do we coordinate with mwananchi, and how well can we, coordinate? Yeah, that's what I would say, that we should actually, I think we should have a control of police brutality way before 2027 comes, because if this goes on in 2027, we don't know what to say. Right now, it's not politically very heated. 2027, then if this is not under control and in checks, then it's going to be totally a menace. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you so much, Eli. And you have asked a very sensitive question. And actually, this has brought a lot of questions online and even across all the borders. Well, we have all seen what has happened in South Africa. Suppose it has happened in other countries too, but maybe our eyes were more focused on what will happen in South Africa, because that was what was in news or maybe in media. But just to address the issue of Afrophobia and I would say xenophobia at large, we saw tensions, sometimes flare up in townships and informal settlements, often tied to competition for jobs, housing pressure, and misinformation. When violence erupts, it becomes a policing issue, but also a deeper governance and social cohesion issue. And this is what I mean actually. Police are meant to act like a fire break, not firefighters arriving after everything burns. So, Ella, you ask a very critical question on how actually the police can the police service can be incorporated in making sure that this issue does not escalate to an extent of them arriving just as the firefighters but to be there to actually to break the fire. I don't know what really happens, because in most of the African nations that I've had or seen Afrophobia being exercised, I'll use an example whereby someone, since someone has a lot of money, they'll come, they'll hurt you, they take you to the hospital, and they come on camera to announce to the world how kind, generous, and caring they are to you, that they found someone assaulting you, and they took an initiative to take you to the hospital. Now they have paid all the bills. They're even going to meet your family and painting that holy picture. These are the people that actually preach water during they preach. These are the people that preach light and they consume darkness. They preach wine and they serve poison. You know, it all I'll say it all revolves around the issue of responsibility, whereby the governance itself, it all starts by the governance. Forget about even the police. We have to protect everyone equally. This is where trust is built or destroyed. If police are seen as taking sides, local versus foreign, insider versus outsider, then they stop being law enforcement and become part of the conflict. Protecting victims should be non-negotiable. This is what the police should do. They should actually arrest perpetrators on both sides when violence happens. You don't create a problem and pretend to be the rescuer. You don't create a problem and you pretend to be a stranger when it starts happening, or pretend to be shocked when it starts happening. We have to disarm the rumor economy. Most xenophobic violence starts with WhatsApp rumors, or maybe political scapegoating, or maybe they're taking jobs, narratives. Police now alone can't fix this alone. I told you that it's all revolves and around the governance, the entire governance, not just the police. So we have also the community policing. We have real one, not poster version. This is where officers live and work with communities, so they are not strangers with uniforms. This is what I mean. When trust exists, locals report early warning signs. Migrants feel safe reporting threats. Violence is prevented instead of reacted to. Without trust, police arrive late and leave blamed. Now they act as firefighters, not firebreakers. We need to make systems work, and the only way to do it is to revise the entire system thing. And how can this be achieved? When we all wake up and make a call to these systems, make a call to the governance, and make sure that this is not just an issue affecting a certain circle of people, but the entire fraternity. And that's the only way we're gonna make this happen. If you don't want to spend more time talking, if you don't want to spend more time listening and more time discussing issues, then we have to wake up, go to those streets. Everyone to wake up. It doesn't matter whether you are a kid, it doesn't matter whether you are in politics or not, whether you like it or not. Politics affects your life, whether it directly or indirectly. Is an initiative that cuts across all the borders, and everyone must wake up and make a call to end this Afrophobia, xenophobia, and any kind of violation. Thanks so much, and thanks for this chance, Eli, and to everyone who attended this very important conversation, rather an engagement. And I just request that we be having more of such so that we can enlighten our society and teach them to ask for the right things. Asante sana. God bless you all.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Um, mhm. Sawa sawa. Kwanza kabisa tuangalie police service. Nani ni mkuu wa police? Ni Inspector Generali, na ameshindwa kufanya kazi kwa sababu police service ni jurisdiction ya the Inspector General of Police. And how is it that he has allowed wanasiasa kama president, members of parliament kuinfiltrate, you know, anakuja kuambia maafisa ambao wako chini yake aende akadhuru mwananchi, hatia yake ni kupigania haki yake. Tunafaa kusisitiza kwamba huyu Inspector General ameshindwa kufanya kazi yake, basi aondoke mamlakani, na uchunguzi unafaa kufanywa for time he was serving, because a lot of crime has been going on, and there has not been real investigations. No one has been brought to account. So if we can really hold the chief of police, Inspector General, accountable for his actions, then I think itaonyesha, it will be a good example kwa maafisa wengine wa polisi kuwa kuna consequences ya yani for not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Alafu ingine pia ni kuna IPOA. IPOA is supposed to be investigating, you know, it is also an independent police oversight authority. Inafaa kuinvestigate pia polisi ambao hawafanyi or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, maintaining law and order, protecting the citizens. We should also ask for their dismissal from office. The due process should be followed. And not just dismissing these people. There should be investigations, like proper investigation, because if someone is not doing their job, there are crimes happening here and there, and you do not see anyone being brought to account, then it means there are some deals going on somewhere, some unconstitutional things that is meant to sustain all this crime happening. Tunataka kuishi kwa nchi ambayo ukiona afisa wa polisi, maybe you are running away from something, lakini umepatana na afisa wa polisi, you want to feel safe. Lakini kama wao ndo wanatumika, endelea kutumika, basi it will be very hard. So I think we should look at the people that are making it maybe difficult to have a police service that serves the people instead of being a threat to the people. Sijui kama nilielewa swali yako vizuri. Ela, sijui kama nilielewa swali yako vizuri. Mhm. Mhm. Asante pia,
Eli,
nimeshukuru.
Eli, kindly allow me. Hello? Hello? Okay, kindly allow me to end my my engagement here. But I have a last remark. For me, I think we have this conversation has really shaped a direction that we should be taking as a unit, as a young people. So the engagement has taught us some things from June 2024 protest to the continued concerns around police brutality, youth dissent, and shrinking civic space. Shrinking civic spaces, I would like to give an example of maybe this space, because normally if we have a space scheduled ahead, like today, we normally uh, put up a link. We set up a link, then we tell people that they can join through that link. And any time that we put up such links, then we get both, we get the government-sponsored bloggers to report the engagement, then it goes down. Wanatufanyia ile kitu. So, so for me, it is Kenyans should ask whether the state sees young people as partners in nation building or as threats to be controlled. We have also reflected on how deeply rooted these issues are and why fear and force cannot solve public frustration. At the same time, we have also recognized something really powerful, that a new generation of Kenyans, a new Kina Marco, a new Kina Vincent, Kina Eli, you all are becoming more politically conscious, more informed, and more determined to defend our constitutional freedoms. So for me, the conversation is no longer about protest. It should be about dignity, accountability, inclusion, like the way you asked about Linda Mwananchi, justice, and the future direction of the Republic. So as I finish, let us remember that democracy is strongest when citizens can speak without fear and leaders can listen without hostility. Kenya belongs to all of us, young and old, government and opposition, activists, Kina Olive, Kina Wanjira, Kina Sophie Njehia, and ordinary Kenyans alike. So for me, I believe history will judge this generation, our generation, not only by how loud we protested during the anti-finance bill and how we are coming out to protest police brutality, to protest intimidation from the government, but by how wisely we rebuild trust, defend our justice, and also safeguard the future of the Republic. So thank you, Eli. Allow me to drop as I have to get somewhere right now.
Hi, Eli. Eli, I think it's imperative to appreciate where societies are coming from. Because if you listen to President Suluhu, she talked about the centrality of culture in governance, the centrality of culture in democracy. she contested the liberal logic in democracy quite vehemently. That you're not going to pick this liberal democracy thing and try and superimpose it on our society. We're different. That's what she said. And she's backed up by literature. She is. That the Western liberal democracy logic has come and stuck. It is on these platforms where I've quoted Francis Fukuyama, The End of History and the Last Man. In that book, he celebrates liberal democracy and capitalism as the twin, ideologies when it comes to governance and bettering people's lives past Cold War. None other than himself, he has recanted that position. It's not gonna work. It will not work. So what does it mean? Each country, each society should figure out what is the ideal form of government. How will it run its affairs, factoring in its heritage, the mosaic of cultures and ethnicities within its domain. That is it. When she speaks, because she's not in a seminar room, it's easier to dismiss her as an autocrat. That's what she says. So people like George Soros, Open Society Foundation, and other characters, they can't give a prescription to Nigerians, to Kenyans, to Tanzanians, or South Africans on what the ideal form of it's simply not there. What it means is that there's no cookie cutter approach. What worked for Americans, what worked for the British, what may have worked for Canadians will not work for Nigeria or Sudan or Uganda or Kenya. And I think we don't appreciate that well enough, but that is the brutal truth. We're poverty-stricken societies. We're too divided. We are yet to overcome some of the most basic challenges that in other societies, people can just wonder, like, what do you mean? You want to tell me in the 21st century, 2026, people still have to contend with clean water problems, preventable diseases, and all sorts of things? Is that what people can't move from one point to another because there are no paved roads? Is that what you're telling me? They just can't relate to those things. But in Africa, those are realities. Those are just realities. The other thing is, if you listen to Samia Suluhu, asked President William Ruto to explain himself over that joint project. Why? Because unlike the Kenyan counterparts, Tanzanian political elite are outspoken. They speak their mind openly. Whether when they come to Nairobi or wherever, they speak their mind openly. Why? Because CCM in Tanzania, SWAPO in Namibia, FRELIMO in Mozambique, ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, ANC in South Africa, and MPLA in Angola, they characterize themselves as liberation political parties. Mapinduzi is a revolution in English. Revolutionary parties. That's how they characterize. So they are opposed to democracy, to put it differently. They're just opposed to that thing called democracy. Just look, they are. They don't brook that, which means there are some things from the West that they're opposed to, certain ideals and precepts from the West that they strongly oppose. With us, we don't. Tell me, how many politicians do you listen to who strongly speak out against the West in Kenya? They're not there. So there's that difference in terms of their political culture and our culture. That's what it is. No politician in Kenya would ask a foreign head of state to explain themselves. It's not going to happen. They will square out those things if they've got differences behind closed doors. But there, ndugu Rais William Ruto, kuja ujielezee hii maneno nasikia ni gani? Do you know of a Kenyan politician who can ask a visitor that question openly? None. So we're different in that sense. And therefore, even when we agitate for good governance, we have to appreciate that. We have. But we can do it within our own boundaries, based on our history, on how we have conducted ourselves over the years. We cross the border, they will look at us as ill-disciplined people. Watu wa tabia mbaya. That's how she speaks. It sounds patronizing, but what she says, we don't have room for people who behave like that here. And if you try it, we will teach you a lesson. That's what she says, because it's a sovereign state. We may be part of the East African community, but at the end of the day, it's not an East African federation. We're not a federation. These countries are pretty much very much sovereign. And therefore, each does their own thing, depending on what they consider to be in their best interest and not in their best interest. This refinery thing is an indictment on us as Kenyans, and specifically the political elite, because if you're an anchor state, it's like Nigeria in West Africa can be dwarfed by Sierra Leone or Ghana or Burkina Faso when they were part of the ECOWAS. They left. It can't happen. Nigeria, the anchor state in West Africa, the West African sub-region, must provide leadership. The same thing in Southern Africa. Pretoria must provide leadership. It's expected naturally. It's only in East Africa where Kenya plays second fiddle to other countries. Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania. Why? Because we are fixated with provincial, local politics. And by saying we, I'm talking about the Kenyan political elite. They expend a lot of energy over parochial local politics. And therefore, they can't provide leadership within the sub-region. They can't. Museveni, if you listen to him, does he think that he can get leadership from Nairobi? And it didn't begin yesterday. He has always behaved like that. For the longest time he has been in power. The Tanzanian political elite, you haven't seen them come to Nairobi and just lecture the Kenyan political elite. Nyinyi muachane na hii ukabila yenu hii. You've not had that. They come. Those functions, prayer, meetings, don't they come? And they speak their mind. You can go far, but you must overcome your tribalism. Don't they lecture us? We don't lecture them on anything because we can't provide leadership. So the refinery must be in Mombasa. Naturally, it just must be in Mombasa, but it can't be in Mombasa. You know why? Because the pipeline from Western Uganda passes through Tanzania to Tanga. So naturally, it will be in Tanga. The question you must ask yourself, why is that pipeline not going through Kenya? I've spoken about it before, so you can find out. What I mean by we're playing second fiddle to countries that should be taking leadership from Kenya. Why? Because our political elite want to defeat one another. And then South Sudan, you can't tell them anything. Tanzania, you can't tell them anything. Rwanda, you can't tell them anything. Uganda can't tell them anything. What it is. And then I hear a lot about human rights and the police. Look at the Kenyan Constitution. Look at it. The Bill of Rights comes at chapter 4. It may not mean much, chapter 4. But if you're a country that has got a history of human rights violations, when you're drafting a new constitution, the Bill of Rights must take center stage. And where you place the Bill of Rights will be symbolic on whether you have turned the corner or not, whether the political culture has changed or not. So the thing is this, there's a new constitution. It's not new, but there's a 2010 constitution, but the political culture has not changed. That much you should know. A lot of progressive chapters, chapter 6, Bill of Rights, social and economic rights, which were included, but the political culture has not changed. That is the thing. But that's what counts, really, because that's what breathes life into the Constitution, the political culture. And the political culture, defined differently, just constitutionalism. That's what it means. It's not there in Kenya. So people will quote for you the Constitution off head, but the behavior is inconsistent with the spirit of the Constitution. That's where we are. So we may say, no, Tanzania is still behind, but focus on our culture, focus on our political culture, focus on our behavior, both amongst the political elite and their supporters, is at variance with the spirit and the letter of the 2010 Constitution. Awful. Then Tanzania, I hear a lot speak Swahili, what. No, Tanzanians speak superiority complex. Get it clearly. And it works against you because then you lack legitimacy to provide leadership. You need legitimacy. In Kenya, is that complex? Tanzanians this, Tanzanian that. You know what Kenyans say about Tanzania. I don't want to go in there. You know what they say. So it's not going to work. It's not going to work because the prosperity of Kenyans, and they said it when they had those deliberations, whether in Tanzanian parliament, that the prosperity of Kenyans is predicated on the prosperity of the Tanzanians and vice versa. Prosperity of Ugandans is predicated on the prosperity of Kenyans and vice versa. So you're not going to prosper alone. You will not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. These members of the East African community must work in concert to realize the benefits of economies of scale, to have a common market, and to uplift the living standards of their citizens as a collective. Short of that, it's not going to work. We're going to be mired in poverty for years to come. I can put it to you. And it's not just a challenge of the East African sub-region. It's a continental challenge in Africa. Of all continents, Africa's intra-Africa trade is the least at 14 or there percent. We trade less with one another, less across the continent. That also accounts for myriad problems economically and inequalities, joblessness, and poverty. I can put it to you. We have to ratchet up that trade amongst us as Africans. We're not doing it. But we are doing a lot with the Chinese, a lot with the Americans, a lot with the European Union, a lot with everybody else other than with one another. It's working against us. So we have to mend this relationship. When you see your president being invited by Tanzania to give an address to its parliament, don't poo-poo that. or Uganda. Don't poo-poo that. Or they're discussing about the refinery in Tanga. Don't poo-poo that to score local political points. Those initiatives are the initiatives that will lift people out of poverty. Those ones. Short of that, Kenya, you've got a small market. So you cannot really rely on your own people to get them out of poverty. You need a bigger market, and within the East African region and within Africa, as opposed to China. China, you're not going to trade with China because they are a behemoth, a political, economic, diplomatic behemoth. You're not going to trade with them. You'll always have a deficit. You won't trade with Americans. They are a behemoth. They've been at that game for millennia. You will hold the wrong end of the stick. You won't trade with the European Union. You will know they are too big for you. They are too big for the African Union. So they're too big for you. These things, they're not for you. They are for the political elite, but you can help them understand them. Then the police. Max Weber defines the state on the basis of legitimate instruments of coercion. That's how we define the state. The state has got a monopoly over legitimate instruments of coercion. And those are the instruments, the forces, state apparatus that enable it to assert its authority within its territory, the boundaries. Those are, and the police, one of them. But in poverty-stricken countries, the police are usually used to commit human rights abuses. That's what they're used to do. The military, they're used to commit human rights abuses in poverty-stricken countries. In countries where people's living conditions are above these very mundane needs of clean water, paved roads, the army protects the territorial integrity of the country. The police maintain law and order, which means they protect you against non-state actors who may want to appropriate that violence to encroach on your fundamental rights. That's what happens. So where does that take us? It takes us to people's material conditions. If you focus on the police and not to focus on efforts and initiatives that will dent poverty and inequalities, you're not going to do anything about police brutality and violence. It's not going to go anywhere. Lift people out of poverty, police brutality, and other acts of violence by the state, and non-state actors will take a beating. They will take a beating. It means they will reduce drastically, considerably. That's what it means. But we're not doing it. So we will keep on talking about, is it the curriculum in Kiganjo? Or is it the IG? Should we get a new IG? What? Because where there's massive corruption, there's poverty. Where there's perennial electoral theft, there's violence. Where there are land grabs, that's violence. What do you need? You need the police to protect people who are engaged in these egregious acts. And who are the people who engage in these egregious acts? State actors. So why do you expect them to demobilize the state of violence? It's not going to happen. They will not do it. They will not do it because they know they have got ill-gotten wealth. How will they protect that ill-gotten wealth? They require the police. They know that they are engaging in corruption on a daily basis. How will they protect themselves from who? From the citizenry. They require the police to be brutal. That's what it is. So any day you support corrupt politicians or politicians who have engaged in land grabs, politicians who have stolen elections, politicians who incite Kenyans against one another, in effect, you institutionalize state violence. That's what it is. Because they won't be held to account, the police won't arrest them. Instead, they'll protect them. And when they are summoned by state agencies, they will defy those summonses. They won't go. Why? Because the police are scared of them. There's a day, the other day, there was some politicians who was arrested. Somewhere the houses were being torn down. Look for that clip. He tells the police, you people are poor. I can hire you as security guards. You stay in, I don't know, Mabati houses, whatever that means. You are too poor, you people. What are you doing? You can't arrest me. You can't. Now, this is a politician shouting at the police. You know why? Because he knows, unlike Albert Ojwang, he will not turn out dead from that police station. He will not turn out dead. Courtesy of his status. There's no way the police will brutalize him. Even if they keep him at the police station overnight, they will not brutalize him. That's why he can speak the way he does. So that violence is reserved for poor Kenyans. For poor Kenyans, Kenyans without means. Any Kenyan who speaks like that to a police officer will be dead meat. You're gonna be dead meat. But they know, no, this is a politician. He's part of a very tiny elite in the country. These ones, we do not brutalize them. Whether they're in government or outside of government, these ones are untouchables. That's what it means. So ask whoever is running to be president, what they will do to demobilize the state of violence. It's a pertinent question. How will you demobilize the state of violence? How will you do it? It's a pertinent question. We have tried security sector reforms, or new constitution, chapter 2010 constitution, chapter 6 about leadership and integrity. We've tried everything, it's not working. The state is still violent. What will you do differently? Just that question, explain. What are you gonna do differently? But we don't ask them those questions. What does it mean? We're giving them a blank check. You can fill in as many zeros as you want, and they will do it. It's human. A blank check. I will write zeros until I run out of ink. I'll write zeros until I run out of ink. I run out of paper. So we have to take these people to task. As I yield, somebody talked about the police in South Africa. No, they're human rights centered. They are human rights centered. They are reluctant to use force against civilians. They don't use force against civilians instinctively. Why? Because it's what the apartheid state used to do. They would just shoot at blacks while they're protesting, just mow them down. So this is the black police service. You cannot afford to shoot at black people for whatever reason. They may be protesting for one reason or another. You cannot afford to shoot at them. In effect, behaving like the brutal apartheid regime. They're human rights centered. They don't shoot at the civilians openly, gratuitously. If they were to use force, it must be justifiable. Otherwise, they will go to jail if they shoot at people gratuitously. How many countries do the police behave like that? And we can afford to behave the way we do in spite of a history of violence. That's what I mean by our political culture has not changed. The other day, as I pen off, Eli, if you want to know that a country has drastically demobilized the state of violence, you do not see the military all over the place. You don't. When you meet the police, they either be on the road as traffic officers, or if they're required somewhere, you don't see the police all over the place. But there are some countries, you meet the military, you see the police often. There are 1,001 roadblocks, a very short distance. That indicates the fact that the state is yet to be demobilized of violence. yet to be demobilized. In South Africa, for instance, installations as sensitive as banks are not guarded by the police. They are guarded by private security. Yes, if you're a bank, you must hire private security to guard your bank. The police have no business doing that. For what? It's not a state entity. Well, why should they come to guard your bank? They shouldn't. Look for security guards to do that. The other day we hosted the American ambassador. There was no single police officer, none whatsoever, none, only private security. That's what it is. Why should the police be all over the place? Doing what? Doing what? It's not necessary. But go to Rwanda, go to Kenya, go to Nigeria, go to Ethiopia, go to Zimbabwe, and you can go on. You meet the police at every other turn. What does it tell you? What Max Weber told you? There, the state is still very violent. It still takes this thing about monopoly over instruments of coercion seriously. And they deploy those instruments of coercion against defenseless citizens, not in protection of the citizenry, but to brutalize and maim citizenry. So that's our challenge. I yield, Eli. I yield. Robert, thank you.
It is exactly what we needed, and well captured, and probably actually very well put. I cannot overemphasize the point, and I think Eli, after that conversation, he's drawn a contrast and showed us culturally how we're different from the Tanzanians, what is ailing our politics, and a lot. So if we have to form a union and a community that takes care of our neighbor, we must appreciate there's some sense of first among equals, and the fact that the police in South Africa intrinsically they don't confront people in that sense unless there's a good reason. I think it's been a good lesson in my view, and I have nothing further to add. I'll ruin a good conversation. That'll be the end from me. My conclusion, Eli.
Thank you, Obeds, and thank you, Eli. I hope Obeds is going to get well soon. Yeah, but it's been amazing.
After tomorrow, I'll be fine. This is day 3 of 5, so I should be fine.
Okay. Well, but I think it has been actually amazing because I think we are trying to drive a conversation which is very important. The aspect of violence, the aspect of politics, I think they are very intertwined. You cannot separate one from the other. Politics and violence, again, they carry each other like on the one is on the back of the other. So I believe that if we really want to change the conversation, because Kenya, Tanzania, we're neighbors and we share a lot of our politics. Maybe they are somehow similar. How we operate similarly. The institutions that we have, the politics that we have. So basically, it's about fixing our politics, fixing the leadership problems that we have. And again, I think that it's even the police officers knowing that they are part of the society, because even when you go to those trainings, there is no way in which you're separated from this society. They are part of us. They are brothers or sisters or fathers or aunties. They are part of the community of larger Kenyans and larger citizens. So I don't believe that if that we pin our problems to the training doesn't necessarily in any way change their mindset. I basically mean that they remain to be human. So it's about, you know, having a conversations, and I think we've drawn these complex differences between different countries and different societies, how they do their things, and we can learn from something. I mean, we can learn from these best practices across the country, because I basically think that I view things in a meliorist way, that we can improve things as a people. Everything, even if there is a substantial, rather there's a problem which has persisted, I believe that we can transform that problem to a working solution, and it can be spread across all facets of the country. And I think even with police officers, we can do it. So thank you, Eli, and thank you, Obed. It's been amazing. I learned.
Très bien, vous avez... c'est très bien. Mais vous pouvez, si c'est possible, vous pouvez améliorer la langue. But very well put. You'll be here next week. So everybody should start practicing French. At least to say bonjour and a few things, and tell him Africa and black don't crack. But we need to jettison out. We don't need the French here, honestly. They've been pushed out of West Africa and Nairobi. And this is part of the problem Kenya has. Yes, so Western has spoken to it. Let's not start another debate. But Nairobi probably does not need to host the French in the way we want to do it. A conversation for another day. Aye, lakini ngoja nipone kwanza. uti wa mgongo.